Oh, right. Hey, good morning, everybody. All right. I am a little tired. I've been climbing up Mount Olympus in Greece for quite some time, and I'm tired. I'm out of breath. I need some water. But right now, what I'm going to do is we're so dedicated to this book. I'm so dedicated. I'm going to read. I'm just going to read. I'll have water and I'll rest later. Um, you can see behind me something that people don't see very often. It is the gilded halls of the Olympian gods, who we haven't met yet, because their dad, Cronus, the Titan, was not a very good dad. He ate his children. He ate them so that they wouldn't overthrow him because he liked being the ruler of the universe. All right, so let's keep going. Find out what happened. We know that Rhea, the Titaness, his sister and wife, um, gave birth to a son, Zeus, and gave Cronus a boulder or a big rock dressed up in baby clothes, and he ate that instead. So let's find out what happens to Zeus. All right, the last of the youngest of the of Cronus's and Rhea's kids, sons and daughters. Zeus and his family. Also, keep in mind we're going to read two lessons today. So you're going to have two lessons, and so that's going to go over 2 days. So just you'll figure it out as we go. Zeus and his family, page 16. Zeus was tended by the gentle nymphs and was nursed by the fairy goat Amalthea. From the horns of the goat flowed ambrosia and nectar, the food and drink of the gods. Zeus grew rapidly, and it was not long before he strode out of the cave as a great new god. To thank the nymphs for tending him so well, he gave them the horns of the goat. They were horns of plenty and could never be empty. From the hide of the goat, he made for himself an impenetrable breastplate, the aegis. And now he was so strong that Cronus could do nothing against him. Young Zeus chose Metis, a Titan's daughter, for his first wife. She was the goddess of prudence. Prudence means you're wise and you have good choices. You make good choices. And he needed her for good advice. She warned him not to try alone to overthrow his child-devouring father, for Cronus had all the other Titans and their sons on his side. First, Zeus must also have strong allies. Smart, so far so good. Metis went to Cronus and cunningly tricked him into eating a magic herb. He thought that the herb would make him unconquerable. Instead, it made him so sick that he vomited up not only the stone he had swallowed, but his 5 other children as well. They were the gods Hades and Poseidon, and the goddesses Hestia, Demeter, and Hera, all mighty gods who right away joined forces with Zeus. When Cronus saw the 6 young gods rising against him, he knew that his hour had come, and he surrendered his powers and fled. Now Zeus was the Lord of the universe. He did not want to rule alone. He shared his powers with his brothers and sisters, but the Titans and their sons revolted. They refused to let themselves be ruled by the new gods. Only Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus left the Titans to join Zeus, for Prometheus could look into the future and he knew that Zeus would win. Okay, so those are 2 other Titans, Prometheus and Epimetheus. Zeus freed the monstrous sons of Mother Earth from Tartarus. Gratefully, the 100 armed ones fought for him with all their strength. And the Cyclopses forged mighty weapons for him and his brothers. They made a trident for Poseidon. That's the big pitchfork that we always see Poseidon use. It's called a trident. It was so forceful that when he struck the ground with it, the earth shook. And when he struck the sea, frothing waves stood mountain high. For Hades, they made a cap of invisibility so he could strike his enemies unseen. And for Zeus, they forged lightning bolts. Armed with them, he was the mightiest god of them all. Nothing could stand against him and his thunderbolts. The Titans fought a bitter battle, but at last they had to surrender. And Zeus locked them up in Tartarus. The 100 armed monsters went to stand guard at the gates to see that they never escaped. Atlas, the strongest of the Titans, was sent to the end of the world to carry forever the vaults of the sky on his shoulders. So if you ever see a picture with a strong man holding the world, that's usually an image or in reference to Atlas. He holds up the sky from falling on the earth. Angry with the Zeus for sending her sons to Titan, I'm sorry, for sending her sons, the Titans, into the dark pit of Tartarus, Mother Earth now brought forth two terrible monsters, Typhon and his mate, Echidna, and sent them against Zeus. See how she's very fickle, Mother Earth. She gets mad at Cronus, then she gets happy with Zeus, and now she's mad at Zeus, and okay, goes on and on. So she sent these two monsters, Typhon and his mate Echidna, against Zeus. They were so fearful that when the gods saw them, they changed themselves into animals and fled in terror. It's not good. Typhon's 100 horrible heads touched the stars. Venom dripped from his evil eyes, and lava and red-hot stones poured from his gaping mouths. Hissing like 100 snakes and roaring like 100 lions, he tore up whole mountains and threw them at the gods. Zeus soon regained his courage and turned, and when the other gods saw him taking his stand, they came back to help him fight the monster. A terrible battle raged, and hardly a living creature was left on earth. But Zeus was fated to win, and as Typhon tore up huge Mount Etna to hurl at the gods, Zeus struck it with 100 well-aimed thunderbolts, and the mountain fell back, pinning Typhon underneath. There the monster lies to this very day, belching fire, lava, and smoke through the top of the mountain. Sounds like it must be a volcano now. Echidna, his hideous mate, escaped destruction. She cowered in a cave protecting Typhon's dreadful offspring, and Zeus let them live as a challenge to future heroes. So he wants heroes, he wants people, like us, to be challenged in life. And you have there, if you see the picture, you can see that the dreadful offspring is the Nemean lion, Cerberus, Ladon, Chimera, Sphinx, Hydra. We've heard of some of these monsters before. Now at last, Mother Earth gave up her struggle. There were no more upheavals, and the wounds of the war soon healed. The mountains stood firmly anchored. The seas had their shores. The rivers had their riverbeds, and ox-horned river gods watched over them. And each tree and each spring had its nymph. The earth again was green and fruitful, and Zeus could begin to rule in peace. The one-eyed Cyclopses were not only smiths, but masons as well. That's like building things out of stone, building things out of brick, kind of like the palace you see behind me. And they built a towering palace for the gods on top of Mount Olympus, the highest mountain in Greece. I know, I just climbed it. The palace was hidden in clouds, and the goddesses of the seasons rolled them away whenever a god wanted to go down to earth. Nobody else could pass through the gates of clouds. Iris, the fleet-footed messenger of the gods, had her own path down to earth. Dressed in a gown of iridescent drops, she ran along the rainbow on her busy errands between Olympus and earth. In the gleaming hall, so this is inside the palace, in the gleaming hall of the palace, where light never failed, the Olympian gods sat on 12 golden thrones and reigned over heaven and earth. They were 12 great gods, for Zeus shared his powers, not only with his brothers and sisters, but with 6 of his children and the goddess of love as well, Aphrodite, if you can't guess. Zeus himself sat on the highest throne with a bucket full of thunderbolts beside him. On his right sat his youngest sister, Hera, whom he had chosen from all his wives as his queen. Beside her sat her son Ares, god of war, and Hephaestus, god of fire, with Aphrodite, goddess of love, between them. There's a reason she sits between them. We'll figure that out soon. Demeter, goddess of the harvest, with her daughter Persephone on her lap. On the left of Zeus sat his brother Poseidon, the lord of the sea. Next to him sat the four children of Zeus: Athena, the twins Apollo and Artemis, and Dionysus, the youngest of the gods. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, Apollo, the god of light and music, Artemis, goddess of the hunt, and Dionysus, the god of wine. Hestia, the eldest sister of Zeus, was goddess of the hearth. Now, you're probably thinking what a hearth is. A hearth is like a fireplace. Every ancient Greek home had to have a hearth to keep them warm. They had to have a fireplace. She had no throne, but tended the sacred fire in the hall, and every hearth on earth was her altar. She was the gentlest of all the Olympians, and unfortunately, not a big feature in the myths that we read. I'd like to read about her more. Hades, the eldest brother of Zeus, was the lord of the dead. He preferred to stay in his gloomy palace in the underworld and never went to Olympus. The gods themselves could not die, for divine ichor flowed in their veins instead of blood. Most of the time they lived happily together, feasting on sweet-smelling ambrosia and nectar. But when their wills clashed, there were violent quarrels or fights. Then Zeus would reach for a thunderbolt, and the Olympians would tremble and fall to order, for Zeus alone was stronger than all the other gods together. All right. And little do people know they actually tried to stage a coup and take over Zeus, but it's not in this book. Okay. Anyway, you guys have a nice day. Enjoy yourselves. We will see you with another installment soon.